Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another compelling episode of Haileybury One, brought to you by Haileybury Bhaluka, Bangladesh's leading international school. Today, we have the privilege of hosting two outstanding leaders. First up, the late alumni Mr. Simon O'Grady, headmaster of Haileybury Bhaluka, a visionary educator with over 2 decades of international experience. Welcome, Simon.
Thank you.
Thank you. And joining him is Mr. Yusuf Farooq, Managing Director at Microsoft for Bangladesh, Nepal and Bhutan, a driving force in the tech industry. He is an exceptional leader who has achieved growth while driving operational excellence. He is a passionate advocate of technology, working very closely to empower local business and the community, as well as with the startups and youth, enabling the next generation of Bangladesh to take an digital transformation. Welcome, Yusuf. Today's show deals with a quick review of various leadership styles and perhaps a consensus among us the two leaders here on what leadership style works and what doesn't, and in their opinion, what leadership style they could recommend to suit Bangladesh. And our first segment, we are going to discuss about leadership dilemma, tech leadership dilemma. Okay, so first I asked you, I have been told by some leaders that leadership in the tech industry has become process driven and less behavior driven. Given the large number of people one has to oversee, leaders such as you perhaps depend more on KPIs, KRS, QS, forms, templates, etc. Then on the old school pattern in the back form of leadership, what do you say to this, and do you think this is good?
Thank you, Shochana, and thanks for having me here. So whether industry is process driven or not, nothing can replace the human thinking. The core of tech industry in terms of the product and services we offer today are pretty much process driven. But when it comes to an organization or team, our teams are driving forces. Setting up processes such as KPI, KRA, QS, templates, etc. are just a parameter that can drive or performance indicator for the team, like efficiency, productivity, and the innovation. However, processes and technology can also be used to nurture the organizational culture and leadership between leaders and their teams. During the global pandemic, we saw how technology brought us all together. It is about finding the balance between process and human behavior and leveraging on both to build your teams.
Okay, and Simon, if I throwing the same question to you, they say educational leadership is purely about behavioral and charismatic leadership, then looking at forms and templates. Do you agree?
I think that successful firms are very much like great schools. They share those key cross-functional attributes, for example, that the BCG have recently framed. So let's give illustration to that. They have leadership with purpose, and they also build excellence through people. They have that operational agility, that culture of innovation, and indeed, key to this, they make decisions on the basis of great data and using AI solutions. So that package of cross-functional attributes unite us. In terms of leadership, you know, that notion of charismatic, if we take that word charis, I think that's an entirely appropriate word these days, because charis embraces those human qualities of grace, kindness and spirit, and that's a feature of great places to work, wherever they are. And just, you know, finally on this one, that going back in time somewhat, in this modern progressive context, the Greek poet Archilochus told us that the fox knows many things, but the hedgehog knows one big thing. So that's that difference between tacticians, attention to detail, and indeed those big picture thinkers. So to directly address your question, you know, in a constantly changing world, every company needs both.
Okay, but Simon and Yusuf, if I were to force you both to choose only one of the two above styles rather than ride the fence, which would be better, Yusuf?
Yeah, thanks again, right? So I believe it depends on each person's leadership style, as well as the context in which approach needs to be made. Both methods have their own benefits. A process-driven leadership can ensure the system to achieve goals and manage teams effectively. It is driven by consistency, efficiency, and accountability. It also enables quality control so that you can mitigate tasks such as leadership style decision making could be necessary when you are looking at increasing revenue or when you are making a strategic plan for business development. But if you look at fostering the positive work culture or ensuring D&I, we definitely have to look at behavior-based approach. It gives more space to enhance teams by empowering them, looking into their well-being and increasing trust. You can resolve conflict much better with improved communication as well as encourage innovation and creativity. So in my point of view, the most effective way is to have a mix of both approaches. At Microsoft, we implement both ways of leadership depending on the context. For instance, what issue needs to be addressed or on a particular business or on a operational goals we are looking at.
Okay, Simon, what about you?
I agree entirely, and I think we're seeing 4 emerging trends in leading and successful organizations like Microsoft. I think we're moving away from that age of individual leadership, and indeed we're moving towards an era of networked leadership of teams. I would say secondly, we're seeing that the high performance of individual leaders is always outmatched by the high performance of teams.
Yeah.
And the third thing I would say is that those old hierarchies just can't cope with the new complexities of today's commercial world. So we are retaining, those traditional leadership accountabilities, but we're also seeing that leadership now sits in teams that serve the business and indeed teams that serve the school. So I would agree entirely.
Yusuf, given that Microsoft, like other tech companies, is on the innovation edge all the time, how can you translate this to leadership? How can leaders approach building their teams innovatively?
See, having an innovative approach is to build a team's a key feature to a good leader. The goal is to build a strong and united team that can achieve your business goals efficiently. There are many innovative approaches or the method can be implemented to grow a team, like adventure challenge, like innovative workshop or escape room challenges. Since we are in the era of advanced technology, leaders can consider using tech such as AI to explore new methods of collaboration and communication for teams. The most important thing here is to understand what the team requires and if it is timely and appropriate, whether it is address the needs. It is the same for innovation generally, adopting innovative methods for the sake of doing it will not help.
Okay. And Simon, I know you would be dying to jump into this discussion. What are your thoughts on the same question? Do you agree with that Yusuf says?
I do. I think that leaders who build innovative teams or build teams innovatively, I think they do so with purpose and indeed deliberate intent. These are not accidental acts or indeed fads of fashion. And I would support that by saying 3 things. You start with culture. And you start by making sure that you've got a culture in which people can thrive. And then you take that notion of culture and you systemize it. And you make sure that your human resource function is at the center of team build and team building. And the third thing I would say is that you be very mission driven in your recruitment of people. And in doing so, you're looking for people who can think, you're looking for people who care, and indeed you're also looking for people who just persist.
Okay, and thanks to both of you. Now it's break time. Okay, viewers, our discussion will go on with our honorable guest, and stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Welcome once again to our show, Haileybury One. And Simon Yusuf, let me introduce a term I coined, artificial leadership intelligence. There can be a fear that human leadership will be replaced by AI-driven models, and it would avoid mistakes that humans make. How do you view this? How can AI improve leadership styles?
Thanks again. See, it's very clear, AI is not like human thinking, or it's not replace the human entirely. Replacing human is never going to be possible with the technology. The human brain cannot replace 100%. AI will perform as it is expected to perform based on human inputs. It receives, like as we discussed earlier, the behavior-driven human touch is essential in leadership. Leaders can use ALI, which is artificial leadership intelligence, as a tool to empower them in their analytical and strategic decision making. We have to look at AI as an empowering concept rather than replacing human.
Okay, Simon, do you agree with Yusuf?
I do agree, very much so, but with some caution. The first cloned sheep was named Dolly. 25 years later, we have a clutch of advanced humanoids which are certainly capable of augmenting and improving leaders, and possibly with some replacing them. The English philosopher Bertrand Russell once famously said that the trouble with the world is that the stupid are cocksure and the intelligent are full of self-doubt. And intelligent people, they are disarmed from knowing what they don't know. So way back in 1950, Isaac Asimov published I, Robot and asked if the people were wise enough to know enough about the consequences of our own creations. So we must be guided by the creative forces of humanity. And it's the quality of humanity and the ethics they bring to AI that will make sure that we will embrace it successfully. AI will beat IQ, hands down, but not much EQ. So leadership, the qualities of vision, humility, adaptability and engagement, they will prevail. I am with you.
Okay, and Yusuf and Simon, my last question for you both. Traditional leadership styles might not be effective with the present generation, and how can leaders address the generational gap, especially in a modern workplace environment? And Yusuf first.
See, definitely there is a difference what the present young generation expect from their leaders and how they respond to it, especially in the modern workplace culture. They look for a sense of purpose, how much an organization reflects, and personal benefits, and most importantly, diversity and inclusion. Operationally as well, as we see the young generation having a performance for hybrid work models, if not remote working, with the increased focus on work-life balance, the technology is available today, such as real-time collaborative tools like Microsoft Teams. They are able to help leaders to build better internal communication that can facilitate the modern employee requirement when building their teams.
Okay, and Simon, how would you respond to the same question? Can an educational institution be run by an AI leader?
There are lots of learners in lots of schools across the world who do not like their education contexts. Rules, routines, values that are filled with spin rather than sincerity. So in those kind of contexts, AI will augment and improve leadership and ultimately has the possibility of replacing not leaders, but certainly educational institutions, the way we do education. And that's a hugely exciting prospect. But let me draw from Rudyard Kipling, as the son of Haileybury and indeed a father of modern poetry. He wrote in 1911, The Secret of Machines. And he said, but remember, please, the law by which we live, we are not built to comprehend a lie. We can neither love, nor pity, nor forgive. If you make a slip in handling us, you die. We are greater than the peoples or the kings. Be humble as you crawl beneath our rods. One touch can alter all created things. We are everything on earth except the gods. And indeed, there are greater powers that we all defer to, and some things don't change.
Yeah. And Simon Yusuf, I know by now you would be wondering what's the next odd question coming your way. And let me help you relax. This is the end of the show. And there are no gift hampers for either of you. Okay, and to the now 9 million followers on our YouTube channel and to the more millions who follow our television programs, thank you for joining in, for commenting on our various episodes. Haileybury 1, brought to you by Bangladesh's leading international school, Haileybury Bhaluka, is bringing more exciting episodes in the upcoming week. We have the founder head of Novoyar and then the Japanese External Trade Organization head and our very own Simon O'Grady discussing country leadership strategies. So don't miss turning in next week, same time. This is your very own Suchana saying goodbye. Till next time, have a great weekend.